All right, welcome guys. Thank you for joining us. This is the second session that I am going to run as part of a series of 4 videos on Agile. The first video, which you should see somewhere around here, somewhere or through my channel, is all about what is Agile, where does it come from, what is this Scrum thing, and what is this Kanban thing. Now, the second video, which is this one, what we're going to get into today is talking about, well, how do you measure Agile? And what I'm going to do for you is make that really easy to understand and super simple, right? Before we start, who am I? What's my background? I'm an Agile transformation coach by trade. I'm also an entrepreneur. I've started a few businesses, sold one, and used that to go traveling many years ago now. And yeah, since then, started my own consultancy, contracted for many blue chip firms, and also applied Agile transformation in the public sector, in primary schools, in colleges, and in council services. So quite experienced. You can check out my LinkedIn profile, drop me a message, say hello, add me as a friend. You can also check out the 3-day Agile coaching course, which we published a book on. What this book does is give you 3 days of training material on how to create your own Agile coaches. Fantastic resource for anyone who is new to Agile, wants to upskill, has already been a Scrum Master and wants to upskill into being a full Agile coach. And also fantastic for anyone who's responsible for the training and upskilling of Agile coaches. Now, this is my transformation consultancy. We have a partnership program, which is all about getting you to where you want to be. It is a rapid growth partnership. We do work quite intensely, and our first case study there does prove that we can 3 times revenue in just 10 weeks. So awesome. But that's not what we're here for today. We're here to learn how to measure Agile. So in this video, this is what we're going to cover: Burnup Charts, Burndown Charts, Cumulative Flow Diagrams, and Shewhart Control Charts. Ooh. So let's get into Burnup Charts. Now, what we're going to do is focus really on what does this chart mean? What's it telling us? How can we understand it? And how can we adapt it to suit our purposes? Although many people want to throw the Agile textbook at you when you first learn Agile, or even when you've already got some experience at Agile, they still try to throw the textbook at you. As we explored in the last session, there's not really such thing as an Agile textbook, right? There's behavior norms, there's 12 signs of success. That's all we've got, right? And every other tool, framework, method, technique within that allows you to behave that way and march towards those 12 signs of success is Agile. So this is one tool. This is called Burnup Charts. And what you can see is that blue line at the top is the estimated total, and in this instance, it's total of story points that the team's backlog adds up to. If you add all the estimated story points in the backlog, it will give you 250 in this case. So this team is going through a number of sprints, and they're trying to obviously burn up their effort, burn up their story points towards their goal of delivering their whole backlog, which will be an MVP, hopefully, or at least a new iteration of their product that they're working on or service. So what you can see in the green line is the actual team performance, and that black line is the perfect storm. And that kind of gives you the perfect storm, just allows you something to chase. You can go above the line, below the line. What this team's doing, hugging quite close to the line, shows that they're working quite optimally. And even with their little blip there, it seems like they've learned some good lessons and they've now got back on track. What else we can see is that on the left-hand side, this team has decided to estimate their backlog using story points. You don't have to use story points. You can also use the total number of items, and it's not advisable, but you can use the total time that's been estimated. I say it's not ideal, and I say you can do it because every organization is different. What they're willing to accept right now, what they're used to, is going to be different. So if you're implementing this for the first time, what's important is that you can get people to use the chart, right? And then you can evolve the chart and the practices afterwards. So if you need to go with time just to get it in there, that's fine by me. And if that becomes useful for the teams and they don't want to change, that should be okay too. Down the bottom, you've got number of sprints. Now, obviously, you can just edit that and you could just have a timeline. You could have dates there that show, therefore, you'd know over time. You could also obviously include both. You could have the sprints and the dates there. Now, at the end, this black line, what it does is give you the perfect outcome, doesn't it? It tells you if we do things in the most optimal way the whole way through, the best possible scenarios that we end at the last blue dot. But that's not reality, is it? As we can see, there is some level of variation in this team. So what is that most earliest that they could deliver based on their real data? And what is the minimum that they can, the latest that they will deliver it at based on their worst ever performance, you know? So best case and worst case. That way you give a full story to your stakeholders, right? That accepts the variation of the team and accepts the complexity that they're working through, and also accepts that we don't know the answer yet. We're working hard as a team of people to deliver quality software at pace, if it is software that you're creating. And this tells the true story. So in my opinion, my view, you want to use the real team's data for this, and you want to make sure that your stakeholders understand best possible case, worst possible case, most optimum case from when we started without taking our data into play. So I would personally show all these three angles and tell the full story. Any questions about Burnup charts, add in the comments below, and I'll be sure to answer every single one. So add your comments down below if you do have any on your Burnup chart. All right, time for Burndown charts now. Slightly different tool. Burndown charts look like this. They burn down. They start at the top and they work their way down. They start with their total scope for that particular sprint. So Burndown charts are normally used for smaller time frames. And in that smaller time frame, again, we've got that perfect line, the orange line. And then we've got the yellow line, which is the schedule, meaning when they were in sprint planning, this team decided that based on the way that they're going to work, this is how their sprint will actually look on the yellow line. And then what they're doing every day is they come in, standing up around it, and they're saying, what did we actually get done? And they're moving their line accordingly. As you can see, they were a little bit later than they hoped, later in the day than they hoped anyway, for this particular point in time. But how do you read this chart and how can you adapt it? Well, on the left-hand column, similarly, at the moment, it looks like they've got a number of stories. You can swap that for story points. Again, if you really wanted to, you could swap that for hours of effort if you really needed to for your environment. We know that the yellow line is what they plan for in their sprint planning. We've discussed that. And we know that the green line is what they're doing every day when they're coming in to their stand-ups. They're marking down, this is what we've got done, and therefore this is where we are in accordance to our plan. The team should discuss and observe their rate and pace every day, therefore, right? And they can have a good discussion around that. Maybe things have changed, maybe they need to replan, maybe things were more complex than what they'd assumed, maybe they need some more support, or maybe you just need to take that information, maybe there's no change, right? Or maybe there's some good information there that the stakeholders around the team would benefit from listening to. So either way, a great tool to facilitate a conversation and to allow the team some objectivity in the way that they work and in how effective they are working together. Burndown charts. Again, if you've got any questions on Burndown charts, I will answer every single question. So add your comments down below, please. Thank you very much. Cumulative flow diagrams. Now, these ones, when you look at them, oh my God, what are we looking at? Now, what's important to note, first of all, we do have these axes, right? And this is the total number of work items on the left. And down the bottom, you've got the time. What we've also then got, and this is where the different colors come into play, we've got the different workflow stages, meaning the item started, first of all, not in the example that you've seen on the screen, but maybe in an example you're more familiar with. It will start in the backlog, then it will be ready, then it will be in progress, then maybe you're going to have it in review, and then it will be done. And that is your value adding process. They're the steps that you take in order to flow value, because you need to start with a nicely well understood backlog for the good reasons why you have a backlog. Then you go into ready. Once you know that that work item is shaped up, it's going to add value, it follows invest principles, blah, blah, blah. Then you can start working on the item when it's the right time to pull it in to the way the team's working. As you do so, obviously that work item itself is flowing through those different states. In this example, these workflow stages or workflow states show potentially it's starting from this top blue one, conceptual working on, all the way down to done. So a lead time, which is a very useful measure when you use these charts, a lead time is going to tell you from that first workflow stage down to the last one, how long was that? What's that timer? How long did that take? And you guys should definitely try and time that, because very useful data point to reflect on when you have a retrospective, right? Not to focus on it in the retrospective, but just to use it as an objective way of looking at how your team performance is in reality. The second point to really note is when you look between certain states, so let's say between ready for review and it being done, right? You might decide that that's a cycle that you have particular interest in. So when you want to measure that cycle, it's called a cycle time. And so what we would like you to do, what I would suggest you do, is have a really good think about the cycles that matter and the end-to-end lead time that you want to capture. And then that is the objective information that the team should be looking at regularly to reflect on their performance. And again, obviously, any information that they can surface about the rest of the organization and how that could change to improve their performance even better. Lead time and cycle times will change depending on the business, because every business that I've been at will have a different way of articulating what these workflow stages are. And that's okay. Go with whatever is right in your context. Start with what you've got. Again, try and make the tool useful. Use the tool with whatever you've got for now. Surface the information. You can kind of reveal the system to itself. And then that the people within that system will be able to decide what to do next, how to improve. And it just tells an objective story about what is really happening. Again, if you've got any questions on cumulative flow diagrams, comment below and I'll help you. Shewhart Control Chart. Now, this one's amazing. I love this one. This is where you get into Edward Deming's world. Edward Deming, we won't get into today because that will take me on a massive tangent, which would be a waste of your time at this point in time. But if you are interested in learning more about Edward Deming, I'm happy to do a video. If you want that, comment below and I'll see what we can do. Shewhart Control Systems, awesome. Love it. It will show you different types of variation. And from those different types of variation, you can approach evolving that system in different ways. So first of all, you get all your data together for a particular range of time, and it has to be a long range of time. So here we're looking at a whole year. In this instance, we're looking at the number of, it could be the number of items that you've delivered instead of number of complaints, right? First of all, we want to find the mean, and you want to find the mean across that data set. Then you want to find the standard deviation. If you go on Google, type in how to work that out, you can find the formula, you can work it out. If you add that standard deviation to the mean, you get the upper control limit, this dotted line. And if you take it away, you get the lower control limit. Now, this is amazing because now we're starting to see between that upper control limit and the lower control limit, what this is telling us is that all of the data points within those two lines, all of the points within those two lines are because of the natural systemic way that all of the parts that come together to enable the delivery of these complaints or of the stories or the tickets or the items that you're working on, because of the system around getting those items delivered, this is the normal, common type of variation that you would get because of the natural way that that system is creating those outcomes. When you look at data points outside the line though, you start to see special cause, right? And what that means is this is non-systemic. This is not because of the way that the parts fit. This won't continue happening naturally, organically, because of the way the system is functioning, because of the way that we work. But there's something unique that's happened that we need to explore because it's caused an element of volatility, an element of variation that is not systemic. So we don't understand it. So the first port of call, once you do one of these diagrams, is to go and investigate that data point, right? If you use a software tool to manage and flow your work, zoom into that data point and try and find the narrative, try and find the story, right? This is why really good practice on software tools that help you flow your work is super important. So you can fly back in time and understand what's happening and try and learn systemically about your system. The other point, as I mentioned, is common cause variation, which, as I say, they're just because of the way that the parts fit normally. That's just because of the way that parts come together. What you're hoping for is to understand the special cause variation and just try and eliminate them, basically. Try and understand the root cause, the root systemic cause of how that occurred in the organization, and try and find the real fix for that, right? Not the sticky plaster, but the real fix that will prevent it ever being possible to happen again. It might just be that it was something that was a freak situation, in which case that's okay. At least we now know, right? On the other side of things, what we want to look at with the common cause variation. So once we've understood special cause and there's no more special cause to investigate, we then start looking at common cause. Really what we're trying to understand is, how can we reduce this width of upper control limit to lower control limit? How can we reduce that so that it's less volatile, it's more known, it's more consistent? How can we reduce that? You know, what would we need to do? We'll never be able to get it to the mean and just be the mean. No way, because that's just not how complexity works. When you work with teams of people to deliver software or to deliver anything as a team, there's multiple people, multiple minds, the problem's got multiple facets. You're never going to be able to solve problems continuously in one way and get the same average, right? But what you are going to be able to do is get a best case and a worst case. And when you keep reflecting on your way of working and how the organization helps you, you should be able to reduce that time. So hopefully that was useful. We've gone through quite a lot there. We went through Burnup Charts, Burndown Charts, Cumulative Flow Diagrams, and now the Shewhart Control System. Hopefully that's useful. Of course, I implore you to hit that subscribe button, and there'll be some links below. There'll be links to my LinkedIn, there'll be links to the book, there'll be links to the startup program. But please, if you need any more support, if you've got any questions around this, I'm really passionate about this topic. I know it might sound geeky, but I am really, really interested in this topic and really passionate about it. And I've seen the power of how it helps organizations and how it helps teams. So if you've got any questions, if I can help you at all, please lay them down below in the comments. Thank you for your time. I hope this was useful. Look out for episode 3 on the Agile series, which is coming very soon. See you later. Bye-bye.